Be confident, be bold, be authentic, but don't forget to take action. This is Ordinary to Badass, where our stories empower women to step into the spotlight of their own lives and pursue what they're truly passionate about. It's time to step into the arena and become more than just extraordinary. It's time to become a badass with your host, Marie Sonneman.
Welcome to Ordinary to Badass, episode number 308. In this episode, you're going to hear 3 reasons why Sheila Carroll is so badass. So if you didn't listen to the last episode, go back and listen. Sheila is an author, and she talked all about health for kids and mom life and dealing with mom guilt and what she does, and then also about her journeys to Africa, to Nepal. So it was a good episode. But before we get into it, I just kind of want to check in with you. How are you doing? How are you feeling? So I know a lot has been going on, and I think hopefully we're on the tail end of COVID and everything is kind of freed up. I know finally here they released the orders or released like any having to wear masks, stuff like that. At least it was still hanging on in medical facilities, stuff like that, but now it's no longer required. So what are you looking forward to? What are you planning on doing now that things are open? And they might have been open for you in a little bit or for a while. And then different places have kind of done things differently. If you are still closed down, if anything's still closed where you're at, I would love to hear about it, hear about your experience, but really just kind of embrace where you are, embrace what you've gone through and what you've gotten through. And here's the thing is you are a badass and you got through it, even if it was freaking hard, even if it felt like, man, how are we going to get through this? What are we going to do? Maybe you're an extrovert and you felt super lonely. Even if you're an introvert, you could have felt lonely. I know it did make me appreciate, it made me appreciate being around people more for sure. Now, don't get me wrong. I didn't mind, I didn't mind the alone time, or it didn't really seem to bother me, but I did appreciate just like the freedom to go out with your friends when you want to go out and see your friends, or the freedom to just do everyday things that maybe you couldn't do during COVID. So yeah, but just give yourself grace. If you haven't gotten to where you wanted on certain things in your life or certain goals, just remember, it's been a crazy couple of years, right? It was 3 years of craziness. So to give yourself grace, and maybe you stop doing something and you really want to get back into it, but you've been telling yourself like, oh, it's been too long, or I should have never given this up. I should have never stopped. Maybe it was out of your control. Maybe it wasn't. But guess what? If you love doing something, if you have a desire in your heart to do something, then do that thing. It is okay. It's okay that you took a break. It's okay that you paused. And again, it doesn't matter if you paused or stopped because of COVID or not. Give yourself grace. Remind yourself that you are a badass. Not a whole lot of people can say that they survived through a pandemic. Like, yes, people at our time now can, but it's still like something in 30 years. It's going to be something that blows people's mind, right? But you're a badass. You got through it. You were here on the other side. So I just want you to appreciate that a little bit and give yourself grace, and maybe start looking to where you can start fresh, right? What can you start doing again in your life that you wanted to do? Okay, with that, let's just dive into the episode and 3 reasons why Sheila Carroll is so badass. Now, Sheila, one of the things that was so badass was her perspective on kids' health. She had a differing perspective, and I loved it. Because so often it's easy for us to put the blame on somebody else, or to say, oh, well, that's their problem. It's not mine. Well, when you're a family, right? What is your children's problem is your problem. And so if your kids have health issues or maybe they're overweight, then Dr. Sheila talked about that. And she said, okay, really, she doesn't deal with the kids. If the kid is having a problem, she deals with the parents. She's like, really, you got to get to it at the parent level, not at the kid level. And so what kind of foods do you have in your house? And kind of reflect on what kind of foods you have in your house, what kind of exercise you guys are doing as a family. And she said, instead of prioritizing weight, prioritize health. And I think that's important because nobody wants to hear that they have to lose weight. And then that's also creating issues for young kids, right? Thinking their weight is so important, but it's a whole family thing, and the whole family can improve their health. And you know what? Here's the thing is I have known some skinny people who eat like crap. I don't know if you know anybody like that, but it's just different metabolisms, right? But then one person that I'm thinking of, then also she was very thin, but she also had high blood pressure because she wasn't eating good, right? So just because we all have different body types, different body sizes, doesn't mean that we all can't get healthier. So how can you start to create healthy habits with your family? If you have a kid that is overweight and you're worried about them, okay, how can you start creating new healthy habits that you all do, not just the kid? I think it's easy to put it on one person, but really it could be a family affair. It could be a family gathering, something the family embraces together. And then I think that there's more power in that. There's more strength in that when you're all doing it together and going on the journey together. But I really like Dr. Sheila's take on it, and that she just works with the parents directly and helps them figure out what's going on and helps create a plan of action there going forward. So how can you help your kids? How can you make changes for yourself that could then affect the rest of the family? And then your kids see and they start making those changes too. Or you make it a family mission, right? And you're just like, okay, our mission is to get 1% healthier today, or 1% healthier this month, right? Just get a little bit healthier, a little bit healthier, a little bit healthier. So often we think, oh, everything's got to change overnight and make a big drastic change, but that's just not true. Small incremental changes can do, it's amazing. Just the small everyday things, the change that they can have in the long run. And they can have long-term effects. So don't be afraid to just take one step forward every day, one step forward, make small tweaks, small changes, and then over time, those small changes will have big results. So don't forget about the every day. So often we think about the end game, or we think about everything has to change right now, and there's really such greatness in the minutia of the everyday. Okay, the second reason why Dr. Sheila Carroll is so badass is for the work that she did in Nepal. So she went over to Nepal as a doctor and really helped to help the community. They don't have the same healthcare system that we have here. And so she went over there. Okay, so I had to pause that for a quick second. My foot went completely asleep, so I don't know. Just felt weird. I was like, it's been a while since my foot fell asleep. I don't know. But Dr. Sheila, she went over to Nepal, and she was there specifically to be as a doctor, but then they had to do hiking. They would have to do hiking to get from town to town, and they would have to camp out at night. But there is so much that can happen when you go to different countries and experience different cultures and see how different people are living. And I'm not preaching here. I've not traveled nearly as much as I would like, but she said that you really could see, like, oh, what different countries have that or don't have that we have here in America, things that we take for granted. And so we just think it's normal every day. And she had even talked about gratitude. Like when it comes to going to other countries, they don't have the same bathrooms that we have. And so she goes, so I try to bring that gratitude back here with me, back to the United States, and be like, when she gets her bill, say she has to pay for her sewer bill, and she's grateful for that. And she's like, oh my gosh, thank you so much for giving me this. Thank you so much for letting me have a bathroom, for having plumbing, for having the everyday comforts of life, because other places she had been don't have running water, don't have electricity. But we have that here in the States. And so it really can put things into perspective, right? And if she hadn't taken the trip to Nepal, the trips to Africa, if she hadn't taken trips to different places, she wouldn't have that same perspective, that same gratitude even. And so really, a lot of times traveling to other places and seeing how other people live, and that can create our own experience or realize like, oh, it's not the way it is. Where I am is not the same everywhere else. And so it can give you a broader perspective on life. Has that ever happened for you? Where you traveled somewhere and you realize that it's completely different than where you are? And then the other part of it is sometimes the best way to get out of your own head when you're struggling with something, you're going through something, you feel down and out, the best way is to go help someone else. So if you're volunteering or doing something that you don't have to, she didn't have to go abroad, right? She didn't have to go somewhere else just to help people. That was her choice. She wanted to do that. But often that's the quickest way to get out of your head. That's the quickest way to realize, oh, the world isn't surrounded by me, or like doesn't revolve around me, right? There are other people going through other stuff, and it is way worse than what I'm going through. And we tend to forget that. It's so easy to just have the spotlight right on us and forget there are other people going through hard things. And then when things feel hard for you in the future, then maybe it helps you realize, okay, it's really not that bad. There's somebody that has it worse off than me. And maybe you even have a specific example, right? Somebody you can think of like, oh, they have it worse off than me. Like they're a total badass, but they still have it worse off. Or somebody has gone through this before, right? Somebody has been through what I've done and gone through it and made it okay on the other end. So you're not alone in it. But again, the outside perspective, going somewhere else, seeing how different people live, then sometimes that can provide you the perspective that you didn't have or you weren't afforded in your life, right? So put yourself in different circumstances. And really, one thing I want to pull out of that, I already kind of touched on, is the gratitude piece. So what are you grateful for today? What are you grateful for that they don't necessarily have access to in other countries? And really sit with that gratitude for a minute. I started to shut my eyes. My meditation part kicked in. But sit with that gratitude for all the things that you're grateful for. And maybe it's just that you have a roof over your head or you have a comfortable bed, right? I'll tell you, I went to Maryland last week and I had to stay in what looked like a dorm, like a college dorm, on a little twin bed. And I was like, oh my gosh, I felt like if I rolled over, I was going to fall off the bed. And it really made me grateful for my bed. Like I couldn't wait to get home and get to my bed. So sometimes it's just those small little things and you forget how good you have it. So just remember that. Remember to be grateful, or to put yourself in different situations around different cultures, around different people who have different ways of living. Okay. And number three, the third reason why Sheila Carroll is so badass is because of her framework for powerful thoughts. So Dr. Sheila talked about framework and about the power of thinking. And she said, really, you have to believe it's possible for you. If you want something, believe that it's possible. And if it's not happening for you, examine your thoughts. Now, it's so powerful to examine our thoughts and examine what we're thinking, but I don't think we do it nearly enough. But she said, ask yourself, what is the life that I want? And then go back, right? And start thinking, what are the thoughts that I need to be thinking on a daily basis? So if I want to feel like a badass, what are the thoughts that I need to be thinking on a daily basis to get there? And then ask yourself, can I do this? You need to have belief in yourself. Yes, you can do this. And how can I figure this out? Just start asking yourself some questions. Get curious. And then just be determined that you're going to get the help that you need. But really, dial in. Dr. Sheila said to dial into the fact that this is possible for you. The things you want in your life are possible for you. So remember to think, what are the thoughts that I'm going to need to be thinking? What am I going to need to be feeling? What do I need to do or think or feel so that I can be strong and confident? And sometimes it helps to just like visualize those, right? Visualize yourself being strong and confident. Visualize yourself thinking powerful, strong thoughts. There is so much to be said about visualization. So don't undercut it. And also pre-plan it ahead of time. Like, this is my intention. This is how I want to feel today. And then really work on feeling that way. So I want to feel joy today. I want to feel happy. I want to feel strong and confident. Think of what you want to feel and set that intention for the day that's what you're going to feel. So Dr. Sheila said, like, all the feelings that you want, there's a thought right before it that creates that feeling. So you want to pay attention to your thoughts because that's creating your feelings. And so ask yourself these questions, really dig in to how you want to feel and to what it means to you. But your thoughts create your feelings. And so that's going to determine how you feel throughout the day, right? So be intentional about it. Again, we don't do this nearly enough. I think that it's so critical that we start paying attention to our thoughts, we pay attention to our feelings, and we really set an intention on it, right? And if you're not intentional about how you want to feel, the world will come in and help you. It will determine how you feel, right? Because things are going to trigger you all the time. Things are going to trigger you. And it reminds me of The Untethered Soul. If you haven't read that book, I absolutely love that book. But it talks about all these thoughts that we have, and we totally associate it with ourselves, and we associate it as it must be true. It doesn't mean it's true. Just because you have a thought, it doesn't mean it's true. But that can really, if you're not feeling like a badass, mastering your thoughts can certainly help you to feel like a badass. Okay, quick recap. 3 reasons why Sheila Carroll is so badass. First is for her differing perspective on kids' health. Second is for her work in Nepal. And third is for her framework for powerful thoughts. So if you didn't listen to the last episode, go back and listen. And of course, reach out to Dr. Sheila. Let her know the impact that her episode had on you. Maybe you have kids and she gave you a different way to think about their health. So important. And also, it is important that we reach out and let these guests know, like, you're a badass woman. You said A, I learned B, and I implemented it by doing C. Let them know. Like, it feels awesome to get feedback and to really hear the impact that you had on other people. With that, we'll end our show. To all the badass women out there staying in the arena, wherever you are, whatever you're doing, own it and get after it.
Now that you've listened to this episode of Ordinary to Badass, we want to hear from you. Go to our website, ordinarytobadass.com/podcast, and submit your own experience on how you took your life from ordinary to badass and get the chance to be on a future spotlight episode of the show. That's ordinarytobadass.com/podcast. While you're waiting for the next episode of the show, wipe off the sweat, dust off the dirt, and get back in the arena.